We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
It's the Weiliotis podcast.
I like it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Weiliotis podcast. It's been a minute, but we are here again recording live from the Hive on my end. And yeah, I don't know where you at, Mikey? Undisclosed location.
Yeah. So, well, first we gotta start off by saying we're the Weiliotis podcast. We are not a podcast associated with any Ray Liotta films. It's just a combination of our last two names. But at some point, we'll probably do a Ray Liotta film, like B movie, probably Jerry Seinfeld's B movie.
Yes.
But yeah, I am since we last recorded, I guess I don't know. I am now living just outside of Boston. So my wife and I, in August, I guess we've recorded since August probably, but
yeah,
we left Denver in August and moved back here because we had a son in October and we wanted to be closer to our family and all of our friends. So that's where I've been, kind of busy the last few months. I was out of work all last year, so I started a new job in October. Been doing that, and then raising a family, and we just moved at the new year, literally on I think the 2nd of January, into this place, and kind of getting settled still. So still have a lot to unpack, but very excited to be back doing the podcast again, because I've been watching so much TV and a couple movies here and there, and that's mostly what we'll be talking about. But
yeah, we've both been busy. I mean, both traveling a lot, and not even that far apart. You went back to the East Coast, I went to the West Coast, so I'm out here currently, and it's just been a lot, but it's been good. So I'm happy to get back to doing this again in some variation. But yeah, I was thinking about it recently. It's like it's funny. I know it hasn't been a long time since we last recorded, but it's been long enough to where I feel like there's already been a lot going on in the industry regarding like theatrical distribution, streaming, which has thrown pretty much everybody in the industry kind of for a loop, and that's interesting to me to be talking about, because I think we'll probably base future episodes all off of like release, theatrical releases, but also releases on streaming, because I know you brought it up before, Mikey, but how I don't know if they have it now or soon they're going to put all the Saw movies on HBO Max. So that's exciting.
I'm hoping we can do an episode. I think HBO Max is going to have I believe it's 8 Saw movies, maybe a couple director's cuts on there. So Chris Rock has made that new Saw movie.
The Spiral book, the Book of Saw.
Yep, was supposed to come out, I think, last year, and it's getting pushed back because that's going to be a big theatrical release. I'm not that excited for it. Why not that excited. I'm not, like, Saw is one of my favorite things ever. Like, if you're going to spin it off into a new franchise, like, I don't want it to be like a detective murder mystery. I want it to keep being horror. And I think like it kind of ruins it when, like, in the trailer, Samuel L. Jackson is playing himself. Like,
yeah, I agree.
He does the whole like mother effers this, and he's like talking about Saw. So, but the story behind it, which we've talked about, Chris Rock coming up with the idea, introducing it, is just really, really cool. So I'm still somewhat excited for that. And before Saw, there was actually Cube. Did you ever see that trilogy?
No, I've never seen the Cube trilogy.
So there's the movie. I think they did a prequel and they did a sequel, but it's about people wake up in a giant like warehouse, and there's just tons of rooms, little like cubed rooms, and they climb through each one, and there's traps and there's this and that, and they have to find out why they're all in the room. Really cool movies, very much like Saw. And I just found out they just remade it in Japan, which is kind of interesting. Usually we take all of our horror movies from Japan, the ghost stories, but they are doing Cube, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
yeah, so I would like to watch all 8 of them or 7, whatever it is, and do one podcast episode just talking about Saw.
Yeah, no, I think that
Because
would
you still
be
haven't seen the last 2, right?
there's like 3, maybe even 4 of them I haven't seen. I don't know. Like it's in need of a rewatch for sure because even the first like 3 or the first 4 like I have not watched in like a decade. I remember watching them maybe like like in high school. I think
Yep.
last time I really like went through and watched all of them, but now like we were planning on doing a whole Saw like marathon kind of deal back in October. But clearly it's like an undertaking and it was hard to like watch all of them, but now we'll be able to. And like that's kind of the whole point too is technically like if we're talking about anything we'd like it to be available to people that are watching so you can go check it out afterwards if we recommend it or not.
Yeah, I
um
think that's what's so cool about HBO Max taking all these Warner Brothers movies is like me. I now have a baby, so I don't know how much I'll be able to go to the theaters post pandemic. So people like me, and even before the pandemic settles and theaters are not really opened up, kind of still at this time, it'll be nice when we cover things that are like the little things, which I still haven't seen, but that's on HBO Max, and also in theaters. And then February, I forget what they're slated for. And then March, what's coming to HBO Max?
um shit, is it Saw?
No, King Kong and
Oh,
Godzilla.
it is coming in March. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you're literally, well, if you're listening, you probably don't know. Mike was pointing to my background, which is the old King Kong and Godzilla, or the original from the '60s. But yeah, no, that's exciting because that's also one that was that also supposed to come out last year? I think
I don't
that
think
no.
so. I was surprised. I've been waiting a couple of years for it. I was surprised because I think it was like January 2nd or something of 2021. And I
Oh,
saw a
okay.
thing that said it was coming out in March of 2021. And I was like, wait, we're almost at King Kong and Godzilla. I mean, I've been waiting for this for years. I saw the last King Kong movie, which was fantastic, took place on the island. I have not seen the last one or two Godzilla movies. Frankly, I'm not terribly interested, but I'll probably go back and watch them to prepare for this.
Which one did you say you missed?
I saw the first one with Bryan Cranston, which reminded me a lot of the Fantastic Four movie that came out a few years ago and a couple
Oh,
other
really?
movies. It will remind me of it where like the antagonist, if you want to call Godzilla an antagonist, doesn't show up until the last like 10 minutes. Like I remember that last Fantastic Four movie, like the bad guy doesn't show up to the last like 12 minutes and they fight him and then it's over.
Oh, yeah. It's like very underwhelming. Which I
Yes.
kind of felt that that one in 2014 that it was good. Kind of like I don't know. Like I don't know. It's okay. What, you not a huge fan?
So bad. Both of the
I
franchises have
don't
been
know.
terrible. But
I don't
they are rebooting it again with John Krasinski and a few other people.
I don't think it's horrible. It's just not what it could have been
Yeah.
because I don't know the director's name. It's not Gareth Edwards. It's like a different Gareth or different Edwards, but guy who made the Raid 1 and 2.
Okay.
Um so he has like he has a visual eye for sure, and I think the only like redeeming thing I remember or like really remember from like the staging of the or like the bigger like attacks in the movie were that it was filmed from like a human perspective, so it would be filmed from like the rear view window of a car or something, or like just elements like that to make you a little bit more grounded in like the action, which is cool. But yeah, like for like a new Godzilla, for like a new era, like to start off this kind of like series, it was kind of underwhelming. And like obviously Bryan Cranston should have been the main kind of like human protagonist throughout, I think. And I don't know, it felt like a waste. It's definitely a waste of a such a talented actor to like just kind of off him in the first like 30 minutes.
He does die, right? His wife dies first in the lab, and then how does he die?
I remember he's arrested, I think, and interrogated, and then I think he dies because I think Godzilla's in the compound he's in or something, and he escapes and he dies in the process. I think something like that. I think, but
Because
yeah, I only saw one. I only saw that one time it came out like
yeah, me
7 years
too.
ago now. So like,
And it's one of those things where they say, oh, like it was supposed to set up the franchise and the universe, and like realistically, it makes sense to have like not just Godzilla and the whole movie in the opening, but like what does that look like when the world's starting to fall apart before his arrival, and it's like we don't want to see that. We don't want to like, we want to just see Godzilla and have it be a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, which I
And
think
the
is
last
like
one,
slowly what they've been getting to, because I feel like
yeah,
this newest one, just by the new trailer, it looks like, not that there isn't a human story, but it looks like they're very much going for like the craziness of like that movie, like the older Godzilla movies. Like bring, I mean, so you said you haven't seen the last one, the last Godzilla.
I haven't seen the last one, but
I
from
haven't
what
either.
I've heard, there's a lot of
So the last one has, yeah, all like the main baddies and characters. It has like Mothra and King Ghidorah and like Rodan, all these like bigger like known creatures. But I don't know. I never saw. I'll have to check it out before the new one, obviously. But the same thing. It seems like everyone I know that's seen it like is very either really likes it or is very underwhelmed by it.
you talk about the most recent one.
Yeah, the one that came out like 2 years ago.
You have seen it?
No, I haven't. I'm just saying,
No.
like, from people I know that have seen it, it's like it's like hit or miss, like either underwhelming or just really cool, because apparently it does go more for like that kaiju action and just like kind of embracing the ridiculousness of it. So
It seems like between the most recent one and this new one coming out in March, it seems very much like they listened to the people complaining about the Bryan Cranston one, who was like, there are no monsters. And they're like, all right, the next two Godzilla movies, no dialogue, just monsters. But the trailer for the new one just looks so bad.
yeah.
So bad.
Well, in what way? Because here's the thing, and you can probably I think we'll agree on it. Like the music choice was bad. The song they used in the trailer.
Yes, the
'Cause-
kind of rap rock.
Yeah, like,
Where
come
it's
on.
like, here comes the boom.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like something that you would hear in like a trailer from like '98 or something for like
Yes.
a new
Like the Matthew Broderick King Kong movie.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It seems
Yeah.
very out of place, but like the act from what we've seen, I don't know. Like at least the act, just from the action alone, I think it looks really cool, because again, it's just like it just shots of just King Kong like uppercutting him, and it's like it's just back to the silliness of it all, like
He literally grabs like, I don't know, a part of a building and Godzilla shoots fire at him and he just like,
absorbs it and like
yeah, like,
oh yeah,
and
he has like an axe at the end that I think they made for him.
is he really?
Yeah, so like he's like jumping up in the air, like puts it above his head, and like Godzilla shoots his atomic breath, and it like charges up his axe.
That's
So-
what that is? I thought it was just like a hunk of metal or something. That's like a shield he was using.
I don't know, because I feel like they would put that in, so because I know a lot of people like, oh, like who's gonna win, like a fucking
Yeah.
giant monkey or an atomic. So everyone's kind of like making King Kong out to look like the weak one. So it's like they probably had to give him that little one up so he could fight him.
Because
Like-
they're saying, I think one of the memes I saw was like, it's giant ape versus nuclear power plant, which is
Yeah.
really funny. And it's kind of like the whole Superman versus Batman. Like Godzilla shoots fire out of his mouth. Can he just shoot Godzilla with the fire and just take him down? Like, how is Superman and Godzilla? I mean, Superman and Batman. How did that end up with Batman winning?
You're
Just
right.
like how can like plot line, what is it? I'm not kidding. The tagline of this new Godzilla King Kong movie is one will fall or one will have fallen by the end. But I think from what I've read, they're setting up like Mecha Godzilla and stuff. So I'm sure the way it's going to end is like they'll team up, they'll fight off another monster or two, and then one of them will die, and the other one will like have that moment of like human sadness. But
I could see that.
I like the story that you see in the trailer. Like in the trailer, there's the little girl who knew Kong on the island and was friends with him. And the movie the trailer opens up with Kong being brought to, it looks like Ellis Island maybe. And he's like, hey, let's make sure he stays asleep, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
But when you're saying they gave him an axe, is the premise kind of like Godzilla comes out and then we release King Kong to go take him down?
Yeah, so this time I think Godzilla is back to being the primary antagonist, and I think now, like, it's funny. I feel like it's just funny, like looking, because I bought the big Criterion set a while back for all like the Showa era movies, which are like it's like 20, 30 years of Godzilla movies, and I feel like all of them, well, a lot of them are Godzilla's the primary antagonist, but once you get far enough in, it's like every other movie is like Godzilla's our friend. Now he's not. Now he is. It's like. And I feel like in the last Godzilla movie, I think he was kind of the primary. I think like King Ghidorah was more or less like the threat. I don't know.
Which
I
one
don't.
was
I don't want
that?
to say in the last Godzilla one, the 2019 one. I don't want to say
Oh,
too much
Godzilla.
because I
Okay.
haven't seen it. I can't talk on it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There is that like that element of like, all right, like theoretically, it seems like Godzilla should be able to just kill him pretty fast. But again, in the trailer, they show like Godzilla shoots his breath and Kong like jumps off the boat, like he like dodges it. So like
That
I
scene is awful. It's literally King
yeah, it
Kong.
looks yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? Like the kind of effort and the sound I imagine him making is the same sound that the old lady makes when she drops the heart into the ocean in Titanic. Like she's like,
Ah.
ah,
Yeah.
like King Kong, literally. Godzilla shoots it from under the water, and King Kong is just like, "Hua!"
Yeah.
And he doesn't dive, he just jumps straight up and then like forward a little bit and then lands in front of the fire beam.
Yeah.
But it's just I don't know. Did you
Well,
see Rampage a few years ago?
no, I never saw it.
It
The
was fun. The
Rock one.
Rock only makes fun movies. That's the only word to describe them. Like the Skyfall or whatever one with the building that's on fire, or Rampage. He
Oh,
makes some fun
skyscraper. Yeah.
things. Yeah, but Rampage was definitely not like the movie, like the arcade game in any way. But they are making a Mario CGI movie that's coming out next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which I think that's going to be a trend we might be able to predict because what was it, a year or two ago they made Detective Pikachu, which
Amazing.
I need to see. It looks awesome. Yeah,
I mean, it's Ryan Reynolds, and it's like as PG-13ish as he can get as Pikachu. It's very, very funny.
yeah, it looked awesome, and I liked how the actual Pokemon like looked like monsters. Like they,
Yeah,
they had fur and like weird scales and all that. So like I like that. It's cool. I think I could definitely see more of these like kid, properties from like the 80s and 90s being like turned into like CG.
the nostalgia.
Or
It
how to
gets
CG movies.
kids to
Yeah.
go, and it gets us to go to take our kids because it's like, hey, this is memorable.
Well, especially
I
if you
can't.
you can take this old idea and like give it like new life. Like the Lego movie is kind of one I always go back to because they took just a really well known property, could have just been a really basic movie, and they like were very self aware with it, like knew that it was kind of ridiculous. Like it was like every joke, so many jokes in that movie, and like so many
Yep.
visual gags. So like they kind of just made it to the best they could. So like I kind of
Now
hope.
there's spin-off movies too, full-length
Yeah,
feature
the
spin-off.
Batman one. There's a Lego movie too, which I haven't even seen yet, and I love the
Yep,
first one.
I want the
Um,
video game, the
oh
Lego
yeah,
movie video game.
the
Such a
game,
good
the game, the
soundtrack.
movie, that's a game again. Or
Yeah. I honestly too can't recommend the new Sonic movie enough. It is the first half an hour, 45 minutes is like pee your pants hilarious. Like, but I mean, Jim Carrey is the bad guy in a comedic role again.
oh, it's
Like,
Doctor
oh,
Robotic or Doctor Robotnik.
yep.
Yeah,
Yep, the opening of the movie is kind of like all those movies like Angry Birds and stuff where you learn like how he gets to, Earth and all of that or whatever. But it is just such a funny movie with little gags and adult humor. And I hope they make more. And I can't wait to see what else they do with video games. But speaking of, Ryan Reynolds' Free Guy is easily my most anticipated movie. It was supposed to come out, I think, in December. It's about a guy. The first trailer that really got me excited is about a guy who's a kind of B character in like Grand Theft Auto, and he has a self-realization that he's an extra in a video game world and decides to take charge. And just that alone is amazing. The second trailer, I can't believe I hadn't seen it until like a week ago. You learn that his love interest is actually a human in the real world that is like VR'd into the system and like helps him come to that realization and take down the antagonist. But it's got like everybody in it, and it got pushed back due to the pandemic, which I'm all right with because it's got to be a theater movie, and it's my most highly anticipated movie. What is yours for like 2021, 2022? What is something you like cannot wait for?
um, big stuff. I would say. Well, one that again should have come out last year was the No Time to Die, the new 007 movie,
Okay.
which is going to be the final installment with Daniel Craig. And I don't know, I think it looks awesome. The trailer, I don't know how many trailers they put out at this point, but the initial one they put out was awesome. I think it looks really cool.
Is it
And
Rami Malek as the bad guy?
yeah, Rami Malek, which is a pretty cool pick. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like I like him enough. I think overall
Yeah,
because I think his performance in Doctor Robot alone is awesome.
never
So
seen it.
yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool show.
Yeah.
and he's amazing. And I honestly still haven't seen like Bohemian Rhapsody or any of the other stuff he's become known for at this point, but
Yeah.
I think it looks pretty cool.
Bohemian
And
Rhapsody is great. You pretty much win an Oscar, and then you get to be the James Bond bad guy in the next movie.
oh, I know.
I haven't seen the last 3 or 4 James Bonds. I'm very behind.
Um,
I'm
the last, I mean, all the Craig ones are really good. I think Skyfall's his like crowning achievement in that series. To me, that kind of is the most. It's the most fun, but it also isn't like it's not too self serious, but also it feels like a good blend of like the silliness of like James Bond movies, like with the gadgets. And there's like a scene when he like hops on like the top of like some like reptile's head or something and like bounces off his head. It's like yeah, which sounds like insane to even like
yeah.
describe, but it's
Yeah.
like it happens really fast. But it's just like it's a really cool movie. There's definitely some of the better direction in it too. Like it's a beautiful movie. I think Sam Mendes directed it, who made like American Beauty, and
Wow.
I don't know who shot it, but awesome movie. And then the other one with Christoph Waltz from a couple years ago,
Yep.
Spectre, I think. Yeah, that one was pretty good too. So I don't know. I think they've all been, even like Quantum of Solace, which like people really did not like when it came out. I thought also pretty good.
What are your thoughts on Tom Cruise's meltdown on set of Mission Impossible? Because I'm 100% with him on it.
No, I am too. I think it's funny because I haven't really been on an active set in a while. Last time I was supervising, and that was back in like early October. So
Wow.
like I actually worked on some sets, both doing security as a supervisor and just as a guard. So like I kind of got like I did work on him during the pandemic, and like while there were more guidelines as far as like separating every groups on set, and like everyone having to wear masks and whatnot. So like I kind of got that sense of what it was like. So to hear what he was complaining about, it's like it kind of makes sense. Like he's even kind of sticking up for the little guy, being like, "Yo, he's like, if we get shut down, he's like, that's affecting everybody equally," and he's not wrong, because even in the line of work I've been in the past 2 years or since the pandemic has gone down, it seems like you still have people that aren't really like, they're just kind of doing their own thing. They're not really too
It's
focused.
crazy, man.
Yeah, like and I understand that. I understand to a degree, like why you'd be mad about wearing a mask like 8 hours a day at work, but like we've already been doing it for so long. It's like it's something where it's just such an easy thing to do. I don't know how else to say. It's just such an easy thing to do. So like when in his
Yes.
case, when he's working on something, he also is like, producing it, his money's on the line
Exactly.
too.
Exactly.
I get that. I get his point of view.
He puts so much time and effort into everything he does, like the stunts. Like, I mean, I love seeing the movies because I'll read about his stunt and then go see the movie and be like, "Oh my! In this scene he did this, or in this scene he did that." We
Yeah.
should do this in 3D sometime.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool. But yeah, I totally agree with him. And I mean, he also like is thinking about all of the people who are getting paid to be there. He's thinking about the you of on that film set, the security supervisor, the catering people. He's like, if you guys stand 6 feet with closer than 6 feet to each other, then like the movie gets shut down, everybody goes home and doesn't make money. Like we need to make money. It's not just about making the next Mission Impossible action movie. It's about getting people jobs because
Hmm.
these stimulus checks are either not showing up or just not helping at all. So,
Right. I mean,
uh,
they do a little something, but not for long.
yeah,
But like, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's funny. Actually, the other night, my roommate showed me a clip from, because we were actually just talking about Tom Cruise, just literally that, like about how he does his own stunts, and he showed me a clip from the second one. Because remember in the beginning, he's rock climbing. I don't know where it looks like he's in like Arizona or New Mexico or something, or like somewhere like like sandstone canyons. He's just climbing them, and like they show behind the scenes where they had like a really athletic and like really professional like rock climber who did like who does like free solo stuff and all that. And this was back in like 2001 or so. And he was, even he was like, oh, he's like, in the beginning, he's like, we thought that Tom was gonna only be like in like, like 20% of the shots or whatever. And he ended up being in like all of them. Like they just had that supervisor to teach him and show him the ways, and then he kind of
yeah,
took over. And even back then, before, I don't know, early 2000s, I don't feel like he was known for doing his own stunts, but not like he is today, where
yeah.
everyone's like in awe of like what he's done in like the past couple of Mission Impossibles and like how dedicated he is on set.
The
So
halo jumping for the last Mission Impossible, he literally just halo jumped just all the time to prep for that. And like if you look at the behind the scenes of that, like it's him and the cameraman is halo jumping with him and has a giant camera off of his head. I
yeah,
think
it's so cool.
isn't he starring in the first movie shot in space? They're
Oh
doing this.
yeah, I think so. Right, that
Is it
makes
him?
sense. That
It
makes
would be
sense.
him, if
It should
anything.
be.
Yeah, interesting. So what have you been kind of watching? TV shows, movies? What have you watched? What have you liked? What do you recommend?
So as of late, not a ton of movies. I have a couple lined up. I've been working a lot lately. But as far as movies go, I watched what I watched for the first time in a long time. Stormtroopers. The Stormtroopers is the who directed. I can't remember forgetting who directed it. Same guy directed RoboCop, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that movie's awesome. Like I
Was that wait, Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers. Yeah,
The
right.
alien one, right? With
The
Jake
alien.
Busey? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which like
So
I completely forgot he was in it too. So like the second I saw him, I'm like, oh shit, it's Gary Busey's son. Because
so
he
many
just
people die in that movie.
yeah,
Like everybody.
yeah. A lot of the main people in that movie die, but it's like it's cool because I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, but that director is just known, like with movies like RoboCop, he's known for doing these more like satirical takes on like futuristic, like anything. In this case, it's like futuristic war with these like crazy like insect alien things that are still like really cool. Like this movie I think came out in like late '90s or 2000s, but like effects wise, it still looks pretty cool. There's some dope aerial shots where like before they head in, they air bomb like hundreds of thousands of the insects, and like the explosions all look real, and like the particle effects of them blowing up actually still look like pretty good today.
They're creepy creatures.
Yeah, because they look exactly like just giant insects with like
Yeah.
crazy claws and like weird mouths and stuff that like just like eat people's heads, and it's like it still looks cool, and all the action's really dope in it. And I don't know, it's like it's just funny because it's just ultra like high futuristic like macho like funny movie that it just has its own like weird vibe going on. And
Yeah. Like it knows that it's kitschy.
yeah, kitschy and
Um,
weird, and it's kind of like I don't know if in a way it kind of feels like an old like it has an essence of like an old like 50s alien movie to a degree.
mhm.
So like
I gotta go let my
that was a fun
dogs
one.
out. I'm gonna put myself on mute. Do you want to talk about
Yeah, I'll keep talking about stuff I've seen. I'll throw
our
you in.
podcast, our social media, something?
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, well, because I'm having a bad moment, I'm gonna see who directed that movie. I can't believe I can't remember. This is bad. Oh, it's Paul Verhoeven. Paul Verhoeven. Yep. So amazing movie. Honestly, very funny and very surprising. I don't know. I forgot how good it was. And man, I can't even think of other movies I've watched. I saw Soul, Disney and Pixar's Soul. That was obviously great. Pete Docter, one of the head of Pixar now, and arguably made some of the best Pixar movies. Up, Inside Out, Inside Out being one of my favorites. But no, Soul was really great. I think there's beautiful animation. Like it's amazing how every single movie they put out, how much like more photorealistic some of their like elements in the movie look, just like water elements or hair or anything like that, just texturally looks amazing, and but story wise too is great because I think it took, in essence, I feel like the story is very simplistic. It's just about a guy who is really striving to get into this role of performing in front of millions, and be a part of this amazing jazz group he idolizes so much. And then over the course of the movie, obviously he just learns that he needs to stop and smell the roses and just enjoy the day to day aspects of his life, which like anybody can relate to. I mean, it was beautifully done. There's some great montages or there's one at the end in particular where it's just literally showing the day-to-day processes of like what anyone would do. Buying a slice of pizza, taking a walk, sipping a cup of coffee in the morning, watching your favorite TV show, whatever. Like they kind of just go through all that, and it's kind of beautiful. It's really beautiful. And it's funny too. Obviously Jamie Foxx does a great job as the main protagonist. Tina Fey's in it, who is one of the lost souls, or one who can't be, she's like a lost soul in the afterlife who refuses to be put into the real world, into a human body. But yeah, I don't even want to say anymore if you haven't seen it because it's awesome. It's worth checking out. Um and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross really did the score for that movie. That's dope. They've done so many great movies at this point. Um, that's really it for movies. Unfortunately, I can't believe I haven't. I have so many in the pipeline right now. I want to watch. One of them being Lupin the Third. I think it's the newest Lupin movie. If anybody knows what that is, it's I think it's based on an old manga, but obviously there are numerous movies. Probably one of the more well-known ones being the Hayao Miyazaki one. I think his first feature film was a Lupin the Third based movie, but really like it looks crazy. Look up the new Lupin. It's all CGI. It looks crazy. The animation is wild. It looks like a Gendry or what's his name, Gendry Tarkovsky kind of creation. Sweet. I've been going off that whole time. Welcome
What did
back.
I miss? I could hear it a little bit from the other room.
I just finished up my thoughts on Starship Troopers. Paul Verhoeven, that's the director who made like Total Recall and RoboCop and all
Nice.
those movies. And then I also talked about Soul, Disney Pixar's Soul, which I loved.
I fell asleep during it, not in a bad way, so I have to rewatch it.
Well, no, honestly, I mentioned how it's such a nice and calm. Like there's a scene at the end where there's like a little montage and it goes over like just all the small things that people just experience on the day to day, like drinking coffee in the morning, like having the breeze like go by your face. So like there's all these like scenes that are just like there's really not that much dialogue. It's just like letting the jazz music play. And I mentioned how it's crazy that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did the score for it.
Who is it?
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Soul?
I'm like, they've come a long way. Like they've done so many good movies now.
They did like the jazz parts and everything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to score a film so bad. If anybody's listening to this and you made like a student film or like a sketch or something, send it to me and I'll try scoring it for free just for fun because I want to get into that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's
I
impressive.
like. As a new dad, I fall asleep at random times, and I remember falling asleep like randomly through Soul and waking up during random parts. And I was just like, it's a very heavy movie from the start.
It is. Even I was thinking like really trying to imagine what it would be like for me as like a 7-year-old kid to be watching this because you're right. It's like they just kind of throw you into it, and it's like he just dies, and it's like oh, you're in the afterlife. It's like right off the bat. So.
You watch the trailer and you're like, it's Inside Out meets like a jazz movie. Like it's jazz with Inside Out Pixar movie. And then it just opens up and the guy's like, finally got the gig and then dies in a manhole, right?
Yeah. He falls in one and then, And then a good portion of the movie, he's in the afterlife just as like a soul. But then the other portion, he's actually back in he's actually in he actually is a funny part where he's going back to the real world with another soul, but their bodies, they get into the wrong body. So he goes into a cat's body and then the other soul, Tina Fey, goes into his body. So like, it's a fascinating movie. I think I mentioned how I like how it, in essence, it's really just about like how your passions don't have to like define you, how, you should just kind of take it slow and like enjoy the little things. That's kind of like the main point of it. I got out of it. It's like just like don't rush things because one day it will be over. So it's like might as well just enjoy the little things.
I picture like here's Pixar. They have like a 30-year-old stone dude who's like, hey, hey, what if we had a house that had balloons on it, right? A house with balloons, and they're like, all right, let's run with it. And then they give it to these like amazing screenplay writers. Like the synopsis of Pixar movies are very just random and shouldn't be a thing at all. And then you watch them and they're just these beautifully crafted film. Like Up, oh my, I remember seeing that twice in theaters. It's like crying, laughing, crying.
Amazing.
It was one of the most beautiful, before Coco, it was the most beautiful animated film where like you could tell that took a decade to make because of how colorful it was.
Well, I mentioned now that's also same director Pete Docter, who is now the head of Pixar, and he's like he's made like arguably the best Pixar movies. He made Inside Out, he made Up, he made Monsters Inc. Like he just like some of the best Pixar movies. Wow. And amazing. I love Up so much. And the montage in the beginning alone is
Of
amazing.
what? Oh, Up? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was talk about heavy. I mean, most kids aren't gonna understand Up. I mean, they're not gonna understand the intro Up. They're not gonna understand most of Soul. They're just gonna see a cat, a guy in a cat body and laugh at it. But like that's what makes it so good. I remember seeing the Jimmy Neutron movie with my friend in high school, and like we were kids at the time, but the movie had a ton of adult jokes that we just laughed at the whole time. And it's like you can't make a kids movie without adult jokes because like you need adults to be. My wife and I
Yeah.
are trying to avoid kids shows and kids songs with our baby, and we've caved in a little bit, but like we're trying to find like kids versions of songs that we like, and like, oh,
Right.
what TV shows will we also find it, like Sesame Street has Childish Gambino on, and Maggie Rogers and Questlove and
Yeah,
Yo Gabba.
you got what is it called? What is that? It's like baby. It's like classical music for baby Einstein. Is that
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's some baby Einstein. I want to hear some of that. But
Sparrow Sleeps. If you have a baby and you still love the punk rock music you grew up with, Sparrow Sleeps takes like Fall Out Boy, Starting Line, Taking Back Sunday, Senses Fail, and Third Eye Blind, and reimagines their songs as nursery
oh,
rhymes. So
I
it's
think
all
I've seen that
done
before.
on a xylophone pretty much. And like if a song is called something like Your So Last Summer, it'll be called like Your So Last Bottle or something. And it's just like they just change the names, and it's just very
It's gonna be
fun.
crazy. Like when these all these kids grow up and they're like they like if they ever went back like, oh, what I listened to as a kid, and they learned it was like a cover of like Sum 41 or something, just like a baby version of it. Like I that's
Classic rock.
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, classic rock. That's funny to think of. That's really funny.
I can't wait for concerts again, man.
I know.
It's
Oh,
all I did before. And now, I'm not in Denver anymore, but there's still a lot of concerts and places in New England.
oh, for sure. So many good
You got to
ones.
go to the Bowl out
So
in
many good basement clubs in Boston.
Oh yeah, a
See
lot.
basement shows there. A lot of good
Yep.
ones.
I played the Middle East a couple times downstairs.
Oh, I've been there.
That's a good place.
Really good. Yep.
And then yeah, Royale. I mean, House of Blues. I can't wait for concerts again. But yeah, let me kind of fill you in on some of the shows I watch. I watch a lot of stuff in the background of work, and I just it's pandemic, so my wife and I are watching everything. I'm gonna list off a ton of shows I'm watching. I'll add a couple synopses here and there, but let me know if you've watched them, have any interest in them. One of the hardest celebrity deaths for me, besides Anton Yelkin, which was so hard because of how young he was, Cloris Leachman passed away last week.
Mhm.
Cloris Leachman was one of my favorites. She was just like so willing to do anything for a laugh, just like a real what do you call them? When like they're like physical comedy.
Mhm.
And I wrote I run this satirical website called Drift Mouse, and I wrote an article years ago that was based off a story of me and my wife. She loves Betty White. I love Cloris Leachman. So I wrote a satirical piece about a husband who gets stabbed because he tells his wife he likes Cloris Leachman more than Betty White. A few days later, Cloris Leachman's daughter, one of them, emails us at our account and tells us that Cloris's agent found the article, showed it to them, and they got a laugh out of it. And like that was just one of the coolest moments. And I looked up her daughter, worked on the set of the Titanic movie, and like, but that was like
That's crazy.
such a cool moment. So I went back and I'm rewatching Raising Hope right now on Hulu. It's the same creator of My Name Is Earl, very very funny show about just this white trash family. It's Garrett Dillahunt, who's now on Fear the Walking Dead, great character actor. Martha Plimpton, who's been around since Parenthood, the 80s and 90s movies, Goonies. Highly recommend it. Your Honor on HBO Max. I just finished the Sopranos the first time, so Your Honor is
Same.
really good. Bryan Cranston, we'll have to talk about that. Bryan Cranston is a judge. His son accidentally hits and runs one of the mafia boss's kids. So now the mafia boss is out to get revenge. I think I'm thinking too much Soprano-y. Like it's a very slow driven show. It's not like this giant, just nonstop killings and war, but it's very good. We're probably three-fourths the way done. Goldberg's great show. If you like the Wonder Years, if you like Blackish, it's a Jewish family set in the 90s, really funny. 911 with Peter Cross from Parenthood, 911 Lone Star. I don't really watch all those like Chicago and Grey's Anatomies where they do like the, together episodes, crossovers, but they did a crossover on those two, which I loved. What else? Man with a Plan. I started watching that on Netflix and binged my way to catch up with Matt LeBlanc. I hope there's new episodes. If you haven't watched his other show, what's that show he did where he plays himself?
Oh yeah. Shit. I don't know. I forget the name of it, but I remember seeing commercials for it a lot.
I just rewatched it. I never finished it the first time around. I couldn't. It's one of the funniest shows in the world. Him playing the like fabricated version of himself. Episodes.
Oh yeah.
What else? Auntie Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun. It's a New Zealand sketch show on Netflix, and it is. You have to like that kind of humor, but just anybody who's listening to this, go on YouTube. Everything's a Drum. It's the first video I saw of the show. It opens up the series, and it's just a brilliant sketch. Rewatched Black Mirror. Me and my wife showed that to my mother-in-law. Just such a great show. Started watching Raised by Wolves on HBO Max. It's the new Ridley Scott show, and it's weird. It's not entirely my speed, but I've been watching it. It's very Greek mythology, and like it's artsy, but it's Ridley Scott, and I think the last few things he's done in the Alien franchise are pretty awful. So I'm trying to watch something else of his. That's TV I've watched. Movies, watched Come Play, new horror movie with Gillian Jacobs and John Gallagher Jr. Not good, not worth it. But the ending's kind of cool, so watch it for that. Buddy Games, written, directed, and starring Josh Duhamel. Is that who it is? Yeah.
Oh,
really
yeah. Isn't that his directorial debut?
Yeah, it's really funny. Dax Shepard. And Olivia Munn. It's so over the top funny and dumb, very, very dumb, but funny. Promising Young Woman. We rented that. It's expensive, but it's now a Golden Globe nominated movie. Highly recommend it. Bo Burnham is amazing in it. Carey Mulligan is amazing in it. It's unlike anything ever done, and the ending of it is unlike anything you will ever imagine. It's a fantastic movie. And then what else? I think
there's a lot I need to catch up on from last year. Promising Young Woman being one of them.
Yep.
A lot of just Kajillion. Is it Kajillionaire? There's a couple of like big movies.
That's great.
Yeah, a lot of good looking ones I missed. So I just mentioned that's Starship Troopers, and Soul were really the only ones recently I've watched. I've also been watching a lot of TV, a lot of older TV as well. Mm-hmm. Not a bunch of newer shows, but like I've been going through Avatar: Last Airbender because I actually bought that set on Blu-ray like a couple of years ago, and now with one of my roommates, I'm going through with him because he hasn't really seen all of it, and obviously amazing show, like one of the best kid programs ever made.
Never seen it. I just think of Avatar whenever I hear that.
I think you can watch it on Amazon. I don't know. No, I don't know. I forget it's on some streaming service. You can watch it. It might be on Hulu. It's worth watching. It's a very it kind of like you were saying earlier, how like you like to watch. Obviously, parents or anybody who's watching a child's program wants it to be entertaining for adults, and that's like a perfect example of one that kind of understands that children, obviously you can't be too graphic, but like you also can't treat kids like kids forever, and it's kind of good to show them like more intense or scarier subjects, which that show does. It kind of balances its like comedic edge and more silliness with like actual like real world issues, and there's all like stuff going on in the show with war, and it's cool. It's a really cool show, and one that I finally remember from like back when I was in middle school. Also,
the movie's awful, right? From what I heard.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I remember when it came. What?
No, sorry. What are you gonna say?
No, I remember when it came out, and like I could just tell it looked bad, and then everyone hated it. Like I've seen like breakdowns of it. It looks so wildly different from the actual show. Like creative differences that just don't make any sense. So yeah.
During the Super Bowl, apparently they're showing a trailer for the new M. Night movie, and I could not be more excited. I've been following him on Twitter about it.
He's had a turnaround for sure.
Oh God, everything. His show, we restarted his show, Wayward Pines. Wayward Pines lasted 2 seasons. The second season's not great, but the first season is probably one of my favorite series on
Oh wow.
television. Like that and Black Donnelly is one of those shows that was canceled way too early. Wayward Pines, if you're into sci-fi, is one of the coolest television shows I've ever seen. That and we restarted Terra Nova recently, which is about
Mm-hmm.
like the world is ending. So a select group of people go back to prehistoric time with dinosaurs to restart humans, like our timeline, to make sure we don't mess up the Earth and global warming and all of that. That one's a fun show.
It's a fun
Um,
idea.
yeah,
It's a
Palmer.
crazy
I want to
thing.
see the new Justin Timberlake movie, which just came out. Palmer.
Mm-hmm. Looks
But
good.
yeah, what else? What else have you watched for movies or shows? What else do you
Um,
plan to watch?
the only other shows I've really watched, like you did, I just finished up The Sopranos recently for the first time, which I mean, I loved it honestly. Like, I loved most of it because everyone talks about it being like, like this like epic like pioneering show where like it's really like thrusted forth the anti-hero and like TV shows, and like while we had people kind of say we have Dexter and Breaking Bad because of shows like The Sopranos, and like I can definitely understand why. Um, like it's pretty incredible, like especially James Gandolfini at the front of it, who's it's like it's sad every time, like it's kind of like people like him and Philip Seymour Hoffman. I always get really sad when I think about like just so much more potential. There was so much more room for them to act and grow, and
I miss
um
James Gandolfini now. I didn't know him much before then, and
yeah,
now his son is playing him in the HBO prequel, which they
yeah,
released a
Many
couple
Saints of
pictures.
Newark.
Yeah, yeah.
Very excited for that movie.
I hated the last season of The Sopranos more than I hated season 9 of Scrubs. What did you think of the last season? And I don't
I
mean
kind of
just
liked
the
it.
ending.
Yeah, honestly, like I don't know. It's like with any show. I don't even just say it for ones like Game of Thrones where there's so much going on, but like I always like I'm like, how the hell can you end something where like everything's tied up, where everything seems to make sense? And I don't know, like it's one of those shows where a lot was wrapped up by the end, but a lot of the a lot of the main plot lines in it, it did kind of feel either like a little too, they went a little too maybe in depth with it. Like I think pretty much everything with AJ was kind of a lot, and he was just in the last season a lot more than I thought he was. He was just kind of a nuisance because he is like a 20 something still living with his parents, has no
Yeah.
drive, like, and eventually there's like broader implications for like things he does near the end of the show. But I don't know, I kind of liked the whole, I don't know how spoilery I want to get at this point, because I mean the show's been out for a while now, obviously,
Yeah.
but there's a certain death in the last season, like one of the main bosses. So like they can't release a power vacuum, and there's the character. Is it Vincent?
Vinny?
Yeah, Vinny Leotardo.
Yeah.
So Vincent Leotardo, he's technically or is like focused on becoming like the head power, and he has this all big disputes with Tony. Basically, wants to take out Tony's entire crew. So like, I kind of like that. I like the continuation of that plot line, and obviously everything with Tony and dealing with his like depression and what like that Felix, like the whole show is about, where like he can never attain true happiness, even though he for most of the show he has assumed the title of boss and had all this crazy power and respect, but like still can't retain like any sense of like continuous happiness, or even just basic like a balance in life he doesn't seem to have, because over the show he just becomes more and more, in my opinion, he becomes more and more scary. Like to me it's like he's just like he's someone who like can be super nice, and I feel like he's someone who, if Tony Soprano was real, you could probably your guard down in front of him. Like he could be all buddy buddy, and you'd be like think you're
Yeah.
friends, and then he would turn around and like kick your ass or something, and like
Like with Christopher's wife. I mean,
yeah,
him and her really like bonded a lot. And then, yeah, I mean, I think I hated a lot because like the first season when Christopher gets brought into the family, you're excited. And like other parts of the show, the first few seasons, you really start to like the characters. Then you realize how crazy Polly is. You realize how bad they all are. They
hmm
literally kill waiters who like ask them why they didn't leave them a bigger tip. And like by the last season, I wanted all of them to die or get arrested. And then the last season, all of them just die of like old age.
right,
And
yeah,
that's how the Sopranos ends. Like the whole last season is just all of them, and you're like, oh, he's about to get killed by the other mafia guys, and then he just like has a heart attack, and you're like, well, there goes another one.
Well, like some of the bigger characters, like Silvio, he's shot up and still alive at the end, but he's in the hospital, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I forget if said he was in a coma or something, but like they kind, that's one kind of. I thought that was kind of weird where they leave him off because you don't like he's just in the hospital and so I think his wife mentions that he might never regain consciousness or he might they be a vegetable, but you never like that's it. They just kind of leave you with that for such like a
Yep.
an influential character in the show. Because Silvio is personally one of my favorites. I think he's just the funniest character. Like even funnier than Paulie. I like Paulie a lot, or at least I do in the beginning. I kind of
In
agree
the
with you.
beginning. In
By
the
the end, like
beginning.
Paulie in particular does some really crazy shit. Like he kills like one of his mom's like friends or that whole plot line's kind of funny and weird too, where he's like trying to help his mom out and get her like more to get her to be more like influential and have her get her more friends in the nursing home or whatever. All that shit is very funny and weird.
Yeah. There's
But
a lot of like backstories in the later seasons with like every character, but I love the show up to the last season. And then I mean the ending was cool because I'd watched the ending when it first came out and everybody was talking about it. And then you actually watch it after you've seen the show. It's kind of like one of my favorite shows, 6 Feet Under. I watched the ending before I ever watched the show, but it still meant a lot when I watched it because you connect more. Highly recommend that show.
yeah,
So
but no, it's good overall. I don't know. I like I there's just so much going on in the last season. I loved Vito's storyline where like he's outed as being a homosexual and then he has to flee. He goes to New
yeah,
Hampshire.
yep.
That whole plot line was great because it was so to me it was so unexpected and
Mhm.
they kind of gave him a nice little send off. So and to me again he's one of the best characters in my opinion. So
I liked him a lot. I liked what the show did with therapy and being gay. Like, I mean, it literally brings it into like modern day mafia where Tony's like, so what? He's gay. He earns a lot of money. And it's just like, okay. And then like there's the scene where Tony tells everybody he's in therapy and everybody else is like, oh, that's okay. Like my nephew's in therapy. Like it seems to be working for him. And it
yeah,
just like
yeah.
normalizes these things. And I think that like everybody's in therapy today. And I feel like part of that is due to The Sopranos just being like, hey, the fictional mafia boss on television is in
Oh yeah.
therapy. Maybe I should like, yeah, maybe I'll start talking to someone.
It's fascinating because
Um,
like it feels very of its time and still does feel like relevant today. Like again, like with like fear, like the general fears that like Tony and a lot of his crew are feeling, or like again, you're like with like the stigma that like comes with like mental health and being like what people might think of that. But it's interesting because you're right. Like that show to me kind of felt like like a breakdown of like the mafia or the mob kind of like thematic like movies and shows in general. Like it's doing something different. It's a lot more self-aware. It's rooted in like pretty much like reality for the most part. Like it seems very realistic. And even though there are a lot of those dream episodes, which what do you think about that? Like all the dream episodes of The Sopranos? Because I think they're kind of hit or miss, but I think when
yeah,
they're done right, it's like weird. It feels like you're watching like a David Lynch
it's trippy.
but
It's
Sopranos.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like some of them. Like I actually kind of like everything with like some of the first dreams he had where like he was on like the pier and he saw like the fish who ended up talking and
Yep.
it was Pussy's voice. Like all that I thought was really well done.
When he
So
goes
like
to Vegas and does peyote, like it's
yeah,
yeah, it's trippy. I also watched Casino or Goodfellas.
mm.
I'd watched all these movies growing up, but I'm starting to go back and watch them. I watched The Irishman in January of last year. But yeah, I went back and watched Goodfellas. That's what when you have a kid, you wake up
it's
very
no B movie, but you know
we
yeah.
yeah. Look at us already talking about Ray Liotta. I watched it because I mean like my son was like a few days or weeks old. So he would wake me up at like 5, and I literally watched Goodfellas before the rest of the household woke up. And,
That
like that was one of his first movies
sounds
he watched
fun.
was Goodfellas.
Actually, if you're forced to wake up, I mean, that's at least something fun to do. Because like
Yeah,
that to me, like I watch Goodfellas on a yearly basis. That's one of my favorites. You know, my dad. That's one of those movies where my dad introduced me. He was like so excited when I was old enough to like show me it, and it still holds up so well today. And it's also I think it's one of the better paced movies. Like it's like almost 3 hours or whatever. It goes by like that. Like it feels. By the time I don't know. To me, it's like by the time like you think you're only halfway through, the movie's like pretty much done. It just
I,
it
I love how Scorsese jumps. Like he'll be like, "So there I was, a 26-year-old Italian kid living in Jersey," and then it's like, "So there I am, 70 years old, running the whole mob," and then the next 3 hours is him 70 running the mob, and you're just like, "Oh, okay, like cool."
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Um,
I really want to see Palmer. That's the new Justin Timberlake movie. It's
newer
kind of
stuff.
like
Yeah,
it's last year. I was so excited for The Way Back, the Ben Affleck basketball movie, which was really good, but I think I psyched it up too much. Palmer with Justin Timberlake. That's my kind of one for this year that I really want to watch. That's currently out.
yeah,
But yeah, let's so if you're listening to this right now, we do have 5 episodes out already. We did Cabin in the Woods first episode. We did Uncut Gem second episode. Second with Mark Finney, my cousin who's a filmmaker. Third episode, we did The Five Bloods on Netflix. Great movie. Fourth episode, we did 12 Days of Christmas with our friend Annie Newton. And then the fifth one, we did Cats with my friend Max King. So go back, listen to
it's a
our
good
5 episodes. This is just a catch-up episode for us to catch up with each other, talk about what we've been watching, suggest things for you guys to listen to. I think our goal is to make 1 new episode a week. We got some guests coming on soon to talk about things like the show The Boys. That's one of the big things. I think we're gonna have one of our friends on to do that. One of my best friends, Yvonne, who I studied film with, he has never liked anything I've done, any websites I've built, sketch videos I've made, music, nothing. But he texted me today and said, "This podcast is the first good thing you've done." So we should have him on to talk about a movie at some point. I know you're going to have one of your roommates on who's done a lot of extra work.
yes,
So
you'd be great to have on.
yeah.
But yeah, and sorry if this episode seems kind of all over the place, but yeah, just kind of wanted to catch up, talk about what we've seen, what we want to watch, plans for the podcast, and as usual, I think we've mentioned it before, but it's kind of cool that we can just talk about, obviously we're kind of movie centered, but I like to talk about TV shows. I like to talk about music and how all these other industries and art forms kind of coalesce and work in with each other, and opens up more room for discussion. So there's a lot of stuff coming out, cool stuff coming out this year, stuff that should have come out last year that we'll definitely want to cover.
Oh yeah.
And I think coming up soon, there's also I just realized this month, Minari, that one with Stephen Young.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that his name? Yeah, so that one, another darling, like that was like a big hit from last year. I want to check out, and also Judas and the Black Messiah, which
Yep.
is on HBO Max. That one looks fantastic. I'm very
Is that
excited
out
for
already?
I don't think so, or is it? It comes out this month. I know that.
Lakeith
So
Stanfield, right?
what's up?
Lakeith Stanfield. Seeing that?
Lakeith and Daniel Kaluuya
Oh,
and
best.
and what's his name? Todd from Breaking Bad. What's his name?
Jesse Plemons?
Jesse Plemons. Yeah.
Of course. Oh, Antlers. Antlers is my other most anticipated movie.
I've been trying to see that forever.
That got pushed back. That got pushed back too. It's not out. It's not coming out for a while, but it's Guillermo del Toro produced.
It looks crazy.
It's worth the wait. I'm so excited. Yeah. So yeah, find us on social. Our Twitter is Weiliotis. Our Instagram and Facebook is the Weiliotis Podcast. Listen to us on Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I think we're pretty much everywhere now.
Yeah, most major streaming platforms. So
yeah, I think we're gonna try to do 1 episode a week. That's our goal. We're living on very different time zones now, so one of us will always be tired during our recordings. But yeah, we're gonna try to get a guest for our next episode. Right? Is that the goal?
Yeah, I think we'll have one on by then. For then, so
cool. Any closing words? We need to come up with like a weekend update where we throw the pen at the camera. Like we need to come up with a sign off.
Yeah, some kind of like a transitional. I don't know, something like that.
Oh, that'd be good. The 3D.
Yeah, the 3D. Yeah, just like finger going to the camera. But no, I think we covered everything that we need to in this episode. So thank you for watching. Like Mikey said, check us out wherever you can. Support the dream. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.